Welcome to Days of Our Knives, Episode 2. If you failed to see Episode 1, it's the video previous to this where I was told that this knife was defective and they needed me to make them a new knife or refund their money. And I told them no, and they got all upset and mad at it. And mostly everybody was supportive in the comments. Thank you for that. I did have a couple of people totally convinced that I was a scammer or that I was doing this customer injustice. I was not, and here it is. So this knife was sent back to me by the customer. I did not request it back. I did not want it back. They sent it back to me. I have not communicated with them. I communicated with the customer's wife one time, and I have not bothered to return her emails because they are convinced that I have intentionally done them wrong and sent out the internet against them, even though they continue, even though the husband continues to post negative comments about somebody on a platform about a sale that had nothing to do with this knife. But anyway, let's continue. We're going to show you what the issue actually is with this knife. Full disclosure, here we go. So this is the splinter. This is the 3-inch modded variation, full-size handle, 3-inch blade. Usually it's about 2.5 inches. Absolutely wonderful feeling in the hand. This one has a blasted finish. I'll probably go back and polish this up because I've always wanted to see what this looks like polished. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to zoom in here and we're going to show off that plunge. Now, the owner that bought this second hand, keep in mind, says that this plunge is off center. And while it might look like it's off center, it's obviously further back on this side than on this side. And why it might look off center here, I actually took, first thing I did was I measured the blade stock, and it's 100 thou thick, 0.1 thick. And I set my calipers to 50 thou, and I brought it in right up to the edge to see, what it actually looks like when it's measured. And it was totally fine. If anything, this side actually has to come in a little bit because of the radius in that plunge. So basically, if we can keep our focus, the radius is off on this plunge on this side, and that was due to my glass platen at the time having one side of it was more radius than the other, and then it also has to do with how much belt you have overhanging and how sharp the corners of your belts are. So there's a couple factors in play there. So now that I have the carbide platen, I could actually come back probably and cut that in properly, maybe, but I risk grinding into my logo, and then I would have to grind out my entire logo or have a ghosted logo on here, which I don't want to do, which is why I would avoid that side. But I then took this and I put this face, that little bit of a face, on my surface plate. So it's not totally accurate, but I put that face on my surface plate. I dialed my height gauge into 50 thousandths, and I came up and I was not off at all. That is probably as close as you can get to center by eye with scribed lines. So let's go back out. So there is nothing actually wrong with this knife. So the question is, what do I do with it now? I'm loving the responses in the Instagram story so far. They're absolutely hilarious. I'll definitely share those out. But yeah, 3-inch splinter 10V. I'm probably going to polish up these scales. This micarta had some cool aging on it that I really want to show off, but it does have a nice blasted finish right now. But yeah, there's the follow-up on this, on a blade that I did not want back, that I got back. And yeah, so I think it's a little disgraceful that the original owner is still going after, or sorry, I think it's a little disgraceful that the secondhand buyer is still going after the original owner on different platforms. So that's a little shameful. But other than that, everything is a-okay with this knife. I'm sorry that he didn't like 2 different radiuses as the plunge line. I might get crazy, come in here and thin this whole thing out, because I think this edge, after it's been sharpened, looks a little thick in my opinion. I haven't taken the calipers to it. but there's a little bit, I don't know, I feel like that edge is probably, I feel like that bevel's kind of high. So I'd like to thin that bevel out. But anyway, thanks guys. There is the follow-up to the splinter drama.